How many steps does it take to complete Pokemon Fire Red? Today, that's what I'm here to find out. But I want to take it a step further. For every step that I take in the game, I'll be taking the equivalent amount of steps in the real world. Will I be able to travel the entire distance of the Kanto region in the real world? And if so, how long will that actually take me? But right off the bat, we hit a roadblock. Fire Red has no way to track your steps. Or does it? Sure, I could have just done it in the Sinnoh games, which I actually saw Blue Boy Finn did a couple years back since they have the pedometer and the Poketch, but I thought that it would be pretty cool to try this in a game that can't, off the bat, track your steps. Plus, most of my videos to this point take place in the Fire Red and Leaf Green universe, so to add a flair of originality to this while keeping things consistent with my other content, it just had to be done in Fire Red. So before we could do this challenge, we need to address the first issue, counting my steps. There's no way I could manually count every single step, so I did what any rational person would do and called up somebody way smarter than me to see what they thought. Shout out to my buddy Sarmed, who made this idea of mine come to life by manually coding in a full pedometer and made this challenge possible for me. Thanks, bro. So now that that issue is taken care of and the steps could be counted, we could start the challenge. We start the game like every other playthrough, and we name our guy Seabody. Fitting for this challenge, we'll call our rival Cardio. We start off in our bedroom in Pallet Town, but this is where we have to stop playing for the day. I ended up starting this challenge on October 8th, and I ran 2 miles for a total of 3,002 steps. A lot of stuff happened in my real life over the next week, so I didn't have any time to log hours into the game, but the following week on the 15th, I took another 2-mile run for a total of 2,922 steps. So now I have 5,924 steps in the bank to work with, and I could actually start chipping away at the game. So we take our first step out of the bedroom, and we head to the starter selection. Usually in playthroughs I'll take Bulbasaur since it's my favorite starter, but to switch things up today I went with Squirtle, and I named him Subscribe, which is something you should definitely do if you haven't yet and want to see more nonsense like this challenge, because it really does help me out a ton. Anyway, we duke it out with Cardio for the first of many times throughout this challenge, and unlike in the real world, we take him down with relative ease in our first battle. So now it's time to enter the overworld, and we make our way through Route 1 to the Pokemart in Viridian City, with a grand total of 161 steps taken so far. We pick up Oak's parcel, backtrack through Route 1 again, and make the delivery. Then we go pick up the town map from Gary's sister. I didn't really need to do this, but I felt like the map is going to be really helpful for planning in a challenge like this until I have access to fly. After making our way back to Viridian and learning how to catch Pokemon from this old geezer, we put our new knowledge to work. I knew that I had almost 6,000 steps to work with in this first play session, but I still tried to not waste that many running through the grass while I looked for my first team member, so after a couple encounters, I found a suitable Pidgey to add to my team, who I nicknamed Smed in honor of my friend who added the pedometer to the game for me. Now with a team of 2, we enter Viridian Forest and are at 629 steps taken, so we still have plenty to work with before our first day cut off. We finish up going through the forest, and we enter Pewter City with a grand total of 871 steps taken after healing up. I decide to waste no time at all and just head directly to Brock, and after defeating the one trainer in his gym, we take him on at 931 steps. We rock him very easily and head back to the Pokemon Center for a quick heal before taking on the gauntlet of trainers in Route 3, and our pedometer is sitting around 1050 by this point. So we make our way through the route, and I decide to add my third team member. Honestly, I usually don't add this many, if any, team members this early in the game, but I figured why not. So we catch a Nidoran, who I nicknamed J-Bone. Shout out J-Bone. But this is literally already shaping up to be one of the most basic teams ever. So next challenge, I'm going to try to go a lot more unconventional. Let me know some suggestions in the comments, since I feel like there's only so many options for a balanced team, but I do want to add some more variety. Anyway, we heal up in the Pokemon Center in front of Mount Moon, and we're at 1166 steps before heading into our first cave. Mount Moon actually takes me a decent amount of steps, but halfway through, Subscribe evolves into War Turtle, which is a nice positive, and we come out the other end of the cave at 1,771 steps. And after healing up in Cerulean, we're sitting at 1910 steps. We head straight up to the Nugget Bridge and face off one more time with Cardio, and he actually gets one on me this time and I lose, but instead of taking some time to train up a bit, I I decide to just absolutely send it again, so we run it back against him. We get the dub this time around, and we make our way across the bridge. After a couple battles on the bridge though, I had to go back to the Pokemon Center and heal, and I decided it would be much more effective for my step count to buy a couple awakenings, potions, paralyzed heals, and other items to limit my back and forth to the Pokemon Center. So we do that, and then we continue on through the bridge, and we go to add our 4th team member, who we actually won't use in battle at all, but is going to be extremely clutch for this challenge specifically. If you didn't guess it, it's Abra. Since he knows Teleport, it'll help us get to the most recent Pokemon Center without having to backtrack through the routes, which will save us actually a ton of steps until we get access to Fly. I decided that his nickname is going to be Step God, and we instantly use his abilities to get back to the Cerulean Pokemon Center. After a quick heal, we continue fighting through the cape and walk in on Bill in a questionable outfit. And after he gets embarrassed and changes out of his furry suit, he gives us the SS ticket if we promise not to tell anyone what we just witnessed. And we agree. So we step outside a changed man after that interaction, and we teleport back to the Pokemon Center to save on a few steps, with our pedometer sitting at 2398 steps total. We go right to battle Misty, and since Wartortle now knows Bite, it's another breeze for us to earn our 2nd gym badge. We step outside with only about 60 steps added to our pedometer from the last time we checked, and we're at 2458 now. After hitting the underground path between routes 5 and 6, we pop out the other end with our pedometer at 2680. We battle a couple trainers on our way to Vermilion, and we get ourselves a Pidgeotto in the process, which was pretty cool. Then we continue on to heal up, and we're at 2734 steps. I decided to go directly to the SS Anne, and I'd usually battle all the trainers and rack up as much XP as possible, but I'm semi-limited on my steps here, so I thought it would be best to just head straight for the next fight against Cardio. He's pretty annoying, and he continues to put me to sleep, but we get through him on our first try, and we end up evolving J-Bone into Nidorino. Right after that, we give this old dude a massage, and he rewards us with the Cut TM, which is much needed, so I guess it's a fair trade-off. And after 2 locations and 2 back-to-back scarring events, we exit the SS Anne, a once again changed man, and watch the captain sail off into the sunset with our pedometer at 3,074 steps. I go on to teach J-Bone Dig, and then I instantly evolve him into Nidoking. Somewhere in the process, I caught a Meowth so it could learn Cut, and then I stumble around the absolute worst gym puzzle ever for a while until I could unlock both of the gates, which actually took me like 15 or 20 minutes of my life. We finally open them both, and I take on Surge, who is no match for a couple of digs from J-Bone. So we finish that up, and we're sitting pretty at 3682 steps. We backtrack across the underground path again, back towards Cerulean, since now we could use Cut to get to the rock tunnel through Route 9. And we make a pit stop inside the Pokemon Center on Route 10 before taking on the most annoying part of the game with our pedometer at 4,089 steps. It actually only takes us about 300 steps to get through the tunnel since the game is over 20 years old and there's this thing called Google that has guides on how to get through the cave. So we pop out the other end at 4,400 steps even. I quickly heal up in Lavender Town, but I don't stick around too long before making my way to Celadon. Once I'm there, I take my own advice from my potions video, and I ride up to the roof to pick up a bunch of waters. We then grab the tea from the Pokemon Mansion, which we'll use later, and I defeat the Rocket Grunt in the game corner, and am getting close to the step limit since I'm at 5325 steps by this point. I actually have enough steps in the bank to clear out the game corner and beat up on Uncle Giovanni, so I pick up the Sylph Scope at 5838 steps. I have like 90 or so more steps to work with for the day, so I use an escape rope to progress as far as possible before I have to give it a rest for the day. Now, a 1000 IQ play by me was that I decided to never actually heal in Celadon. So my last warp point is right in Lavender Town. I use Step God to my advantage, and I teleport right back to Lavender Town so I could heal up there again, and I'm at 5846 steps. Now I can make my way at least into the Pokemon Tower to get as far as possible in there before calling it for the day. So we walk into the tower with some steps to spare, and once again we face off against Cardio. After an easy battle, we're at 5908 steps, and we have 16 left to go before we need to take our break for the day. And this lands us right at the beginning of the 3rd floor of the tower, since the game doesn't count crossing stairs or doors as a step. So we take our first break after 5,924 steps, and we're honestly a lot further than I would have thought for just covering around 4 miles in the real world. Back into the real world, I get back at it the next day and I cover another 2 miles. This time my step count is 2804, which increases our total allowable in-game distance to 8,728 steps. So it's time to get back to the game. We pick back up where we left off in the Pokemon Tower, and we trudge our way through there until we get to the top floor where we save Mr. Fuji. He rewards us with a Poke Flute and brings us back to his house, where we finish this mission with 6,071 steps taken. Now that Lavender Town's been handled, we progress back through Route 8 using Meowth to cut through the middle of the route as a slight shortcut, where we manage to avoid some battles and quench the thirst of this guard, so he lets us pass through to Saffron City. I'm deciding to skip anything in Saffron for now because I had one more thing to take care of right outside of Celadon, so Meowth cuts this little tree here, and I finally pick up Fly and teach it to Smed. We fly back to Celadon and we take on Erica with our pedometer at 6,723 steps upon entering the gym, and as we take out her trainers, Subscribe evolves into Blastoise, and I challenge Erica. She's usually a joke, to be honest, but I was pretty sloppy this run, and I actually thought that I was going to lose the battle for a second there. However, I made it through, and I was able to get the badge by the skin of my teeth. I try to forget that that happened, and then I fly over to Saffron with my pedometer at 6,734 steps, and I decide to handle the fighting dojo because by this point, I wasn't really dead set on my final team member, and I thought I might have added one of the gift Pokemon to the roster. However, I stink, and I lost to the last trainer in there, and then I decided I didn't even want one of them anyway, so instead of wasting the steps and going back to the dojo, I flew myself back to Celadon, and I grabbed myself an Eevee, who I nicknamed Felix. Then I spend all my money on casino coins, and I pick up a Thunderstone for Felix, which I waste no time with and use instantly. So we make our way up to Silphco, and make a beeline for the keycard, and do no dilly-dallying after that, and we trek our way to the next face-off against Cardio at 8,370 steps. We have a little bit of an issue, but eventually we're able to defeat him, and I honestly forgot how annoying it is battling against Venusaur, because of the sleep powders that are somehow 100% accurate against only me, but that's besides the point. We beat up on Cardio, get ourselves a Lapras, who I don't plan on using, but I nickname him Vinny anyway, because why not? And then we face off one more time against Cousin Giovanni, and save the President, who rewards us with the Master Ball that will just collect dust in our backpack. We got a little bit over 100 steps left to spare since we're sitting at 87, but I have no more escape ropes, so we hit our 8,728 step on the way to the front door of Silphco, and we gotta close up shop for the day here. I took one day off of running because my legs were kind of sore, and I got back on the horse the following day where for some reason I was feeling myself, and I put away almost 6.5 miles, which added a nice 9,582 steps to the bank, which gives us a total of 18,300 steps to go in the game. So we pick back up in-game by the front door of Silphco, we heal up, and head straight for Sabrina. We take her down, and our pedometer's at 8955 steps, and then we fly back to Celadon to wake up Snorlax. I was honestly just going to feint it for the XP, and then I decided, you know what, I like Snorlax. So I'm going to add him to my team, and I'll call him Cartman. Then I realized that I never picked up the bike, so I backtracked to Vermilion to get the voucher, and then I went back to Cerulean for the free bike so I could hit the cycling road. I did some training there, which is honestly more than I did throughout most of the game, and I took out most of the trainers, and then I made my way into Fuchsia where we needed to take care of a couple things in the Safari Zone, and then pick up our final team member, who I honestly don't think I've ever used before. I pick up an Execute and nickname him Bobby Eggs, and then I grab this old dude's teeth for him, and I pick up Surf so I can finally teach Blastoise a useful water move. We give that drooling old geezer his teeth back, and he gives us the HM Strength in return. Strength is another good move, and I needed to beat the game obviously, so I end up teaching it to Cartman, and I grab a quick rare candy before moving on with my life. We're at 10,755 steps before we begin chipping away at the trainers in Koga's gym, and sometime before facing off with Koga, I actually picked up the Psychic TM for Bobby Eggs, and then I took him on and made quick work of him, ready to leave Fuchsia at 11,346 steps. We fly back to our mother's place, we don't waste any time to say hello, and we hop right on Blastoise to make our way to the 7th gym on Cinnabar Island. We use the water route as an opportunity to focus on training up both Felix and Bobby Eggs a little bit before touching down on Cinnabar. We run around through the mansion, and we grab the secret key so we can take care of Blaine. Surf absolutely worked every single trainer in this gym, and I decided to face each of them for easy cash and experience. So we get to Blaine, and our pedometer's at 12,394 steps, and we again make easy work of the old man. We exit the gym with plans to go on and earn our 8th badge, but Bill appears out of nowhere and forces us to travel to some remote island with him, so we accept his offer and we make our way to one island with our pedometer resting at 12,480 steps. Bill turns us into his errand boy and he asks us to travel to 2 Island to hand his buddy a meteorite, but then we go on a quest to find this dude's daughter for some reason. I decide to load up on some more waters before tracking down Listel. We travel to the Berry Forest with our pedometer at 12,891 steps, where we eventually save her, and we return her to her dad, and then we get a moonstone. Bill drops us back off at Cinnabar, and we can finally continue our quest for the Elite Four with our pedometer sitting at 13,231 steps. We make it through a couple trainers in Giovanni's gym, and we start our battle with him for our 8th badge at 13,539 steps. We make quick work of him, but then we get a little bit overzealous, and we go straight for our rival before Victory Road, and by this point I skipped so many trainers throughout the game that were severely underleveled, and it's finally catching up to me. So I thought that it would be best to make our way to the Bond Bridge on 3 Island to get all of our team members up to a minimum of level 40 before re-attempting our battle with Cardio. After way too long, we get everyone to what I think is a comfortable level, and we re-challenge Cardio, who gives us another run for our money. It's a back and forth battle, but we end up coming out on top, and we can move forward through Route 23 into Victory Road. We start the final long bout of the game with our pedometer at 14,774 steps, and we travel through Victory Road and come out the other end, heal up, and check our pedometer to see that we're at 15,513 total steps till this point. We got just under 3,000 steps left to play with, so there's a few things that I want to handle before taking on the Elite Four. My team's still pretty underleveled, so I battle a bunch of wild Pokemon until I get myself to a comfortable level 50 across the board. I evolve Bobby Eggs into Executor, and then I want to pick up a TM from the game corner and grab some more heals from the roof of the mall. I tried to run back my gambling skills from my gambling challenge, and I hit the slots for the remaining 500 coins that I needed, but I quickly get impatient and decided to just buy them. I guess I still haven't really recovered from that slots challenge. I picked up Shadow Ball to teach to Snorlax, and now it's time for the Elite Four with 16,157 steps on the pedometer. I led with Felix to take on Dugong, and I actually gave Felix an extra level because I had the rare candies, so he's my only level 51 team member at this point, and I feel like I need that to get through Lorelei's team because she has a lot of tanks on it. But anyway, we get through her, and we move on to Bruno. We take him out with relative ease, and then we go down to Agatha. She's not too bad, but she gets us a couple times with poison, but we're able to bring her down. Lance was another super easy battle. I taught J-Bone Blizzard, because why not, and Felix Thunder to get some big shots off when needed. Honestly, I would go over the battles with you in more detail, but we're here to see how many steps this challenge took and not my Elite Four strategy. Anyway, we take down Lance, and then we have our final battle against Cardio. This battle was actually insanely easy. I was expecting him to have a Charizard because I'm so used to it, and then I forgot that he only has him when you pick Bulbasaur, and we become the champion of the Elite Four. So that's great, good for us. But more importantly, what was the total amount of steps that it took us to get to the end credits? We've officially completed Pokemon Fire Red in 16,189 steps, and we had about 2,100 steps to spare. In real life, it took me right around 12.4 miles for this challenge, and based on the steps it took me, I was around 2,800 or so steps for every 2 miles, so we probably overran by just under 2 miles in order to complete the challenge, since we covered 18,310 steps in real life, and we only needed 16,189 to beat the game. So this gave us a surplus of 2,121 steps. Nonetheless though, I thought that this was a really cool challenge to incorporate Pokemon into getting active in my real life while making it fun. And I hope that you did too. And maybe you'll take this challenge on for yourself. Until next time, my friends. Thanks for watching.